Welcome into a solo edition of Blue Sky Live here on Monday, July the 7th. I'm Neal McCready. It's been a minute since I've been with you guys. Appreciate everybody having some patience. I had a lot going on. Took a break. It was a much needed break. It was a much enjoyed break. Chase will be back tomorrow. He is in Nashville doing some family things today. He's on his way back later today, so safe travels to him. Safe travels to everyone who is out there. It's vacation time. Hope everyone had a fantastic 4th of July. I guess that was Friday. You lose all track of time when you're at the beach. When you're at beach time, it's you lose complete track of time. Thoughts and continued prayers for all of the families impacted by the flooding in Texas, all of the young people that were lost at Camp Mystic. It's a story that I'm having a hard time not thinking about. I've probably followed that more than anything over the last 72 hours. It's been total tragedy. So thoughts and prayers to them. I know that that the more I've read about that camp, it's fascinating how big of a deal that camp is for young girls in Texas, and generations of girls have gone to that camp, and to see the before and after photos are just heartbreaking. Anyway, there's no transition from that, so we'll get into the show, a show that is brought to you each and every day by our friends at BlueSky. If you're out traveling, you're heading up and down the roads of Mississippi, make sure you stop at BlueSky. Make that a part of your trip. You won't regret it. Great place to fill up your tank, and also a great place to stop in, fill up. They've got sodas and snacks, ribs, plate lunches, so many other things. Great beer selection. So stop in. It's very hot outside. Make sure you stay hydrated. Stop in at a BlueSky near you on your way in or out of the state of Mississippi. This particular show is a mailbag edition of the show. It's presented by Art Hayes of Sotheby's International Realty. Are you thinking of making a move? Put the power of Sotheby's International Realty to work for you. As a licensed agent with Sotheby's International Realty and a supporter of all things Ole Miss, Art Hayes can help you buy or sell in your hometown or anywhere in the world at no charge to you. Seriously. So call and ask Art how. 612-805-5929 or email art at arthur.hayes. That's ARTHUR.hayes, HAYS, at lakesmn.com. I'm in the Clark Ford Studios. Been a minute since I've been in the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you are looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It'll be right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Guest will join this week on the Campbell Clinic Hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi, providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit campbellclinicoxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111. Let's see. There's questions in the stream about my pool. So we got back on Thursday, middle of the day, and on Friday. Yeah, Friday, I guess. No, still Thursday. That was the third. I lose track of days. On the third, I was kind of getting the pool clean. It was pretty clean, but we'd been gone for a week. And so I decided that I would backwash the pool, flush the pool. And so you have to turn it off, the motor off, to move the setting from filter to backwash. And you move it there, and then you turn it back on. We've had the pool for 12 years. I've done this a gazillion times. When I did it, nothing happened. So I thought, well, maybe we had a short or whatever. So we checked the breaker box, all that stuff. And ultimately, what had happened, we realized, was that the what's it called? Not the motor, not the pump. I don't know. Something's broken in there. So we were able to stick a screwdriver in and manually start the pump, and it ran for a while until it got too hot. So we're going to find out later today whether it's just one piece or whether we have to replace the whole pump, whether it's just the motor. I don't know. There's a question coming up later about pools. I have a very complicated pool answer for you, but hopefully it's getting fixed today. I reached out on social media to ask for help. Several people helped. So thank you to everybody who helped. I will say that if you're going to have a pool problem happening at 7 o'clock at night on the Thursday night before the 4th of July, the next day is not the best time to have that happen. There aren't a whole lot of pool companies in Oxford. That wasn't ideal. And so the water, which was perfectly clear on Thursday, is beginning to get a little cloudy, but it should be okay. We'll get it fixed. First world problems. Capacitor. Yes, Grind. Thank you. The capacitor is out. And what we were told was capacitors, the way these energy efficient pumps that we have now, I don't know why I didn't knowingly go, hey, let's do an energy efficient pump, because if I conserve a little bit of energy on my pump, we'll save the whole world's climate. I'm not one of those people. But anyway, he was telling us that with the energy efficient pumps, if one thing starts to go wrong, the whole thing shuts down. So that's kind of where we are. We have the one thing at least that's going wrong, so the whole thing is shutting down. Yeah, lots of thoughts about pools. I do have a variable speed pump. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. I'm a sports writer. This is a Wendy's. I don't know, Grind. I wish you lived here, Grind. I would have gotten you out here on Thursday night, figured out a way. I would have bribed you out here, and we would have gotten this whole thing fixed. But you aren't, and it's still not good. So it says get a cartridge filter, straight in, straight out. I don't know what your travel costs are, Grind, from Mobile to here, but we might get to that. Bobblefish says you can change out a capacitor in 5 minutes and save, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't have any clue how to do it, and so I have this fear that if I try to do it, that I'll wreck everything, and $100 repair will turn into a $5,000 pump or something along those lines. Yeah, so I don't know. That's the extent of the information about my pool. Let's see. What else did I miss in the stream? I think that's it. Mostly just pool talk. Someone's asked if I have a great tan. It's 2 screws, Bobblefish says. Yeah, I don't know. The guy's coming. I've hit the point where I don't want to be my own pool guy anymore. So I've officially searching for a pool guy. I think I found one, and we're gonna have a pool guy. So, all right, Grind, send me an email, and maybe you and I can communicate over the course of the day. But I think I've got someone coming to do it. And at this point, I'd rather just pay for someone to come do it and do it right than me screw with it, especially as hot as it's been the last couple of days. All right, so I asked for questions. Listen, I'm gonna laugh at some of the stuff that's happening in my world right now, because there's some things that I really can't talk about or don't feel like I can talk about. I'm at the inside the 1 yard line on what's next for me. I'm 99 yards into it. Something that's been going on for about 15 months now, this entire process. It has been a long, fascinating, illuminating 15 months. Literally a couple of documents away from being able to feel like I can safely talk about what's coming up next for me, even though there's a confidentiality clause in one of those contracts that has already basically been obliterated by one of the people who wrote the contract. So I don't, which is fine, by the way. I'm not upset in anyone. But I asked for questions at my temporary gig at On3, where I don't post on the main board. So, by the way, if anybody wants to post the link to this anywhere at 247, where Chase Parham works right now, I don't have access to that site. So take the link, post it. If not, it's okay. I'll never know. I did not post it at On3 for a myriad of reasons. One, I'm trying to keep as low of a profile as humanly possible right now, and I'm just trying to get through these few hopefully weeks, possibly months, but hopefully weeks, and get to what's next. That's the goal. Yeah, I know about YouTube. We pulled up some YouTube guys, but there's stuff that's under warranty and things of that nature, and we didn't. You can break the warranty by doing it yourself. Especially if you end up doing it wrong. And I'm mechanically disinclined. Let's put it that way. I'm better at it than I give myself credit for, but I'm not super confident with that stuff, and I didn't want to mess it up. There's a word count coming for me and Chase. That might be true. So anyway, one of the first questions is from LA Pen 5, who says, post a GIF from The Office where one of the characters says, "I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?" Sarcastic. It was funny. I laughed. And the truth is this has been a fascinating 15 months. It started literally about 15 months ago, this process. My contract with Rivals, I can talk about this now because Rivals is basically no more, which has been wild to have a website that you poured 17 and a half years into, and now you can't even get to the inbox messages that people sent you. That's been really strange the last few days. I knew that Rivals was not in good shape. Rivals was losing sites left and right, whether to On3 or to 247. One of my really good friends in the business, as people know, is Gabe DeArmond. He covers Missouri for PowerMizzou.com, which was for the longest time a part of the Rivals network. Gabe went through a period where he was being courted by both 247 and On3, as well as Rivals to a lesser extent. And I was a sounding board for Gabe during that process. I just listened. Also, Gabe at one point considered going independent at a time when I had just signed a contract. And I was a sounding board through that process, but I was paying attention and taking notes. And on the heels of his negotiations, mine sort of began, and I talked to a lot of people. And over the course of time, got to the stage where offers were made and counter offers. At the same time, it's not a secret that we are about a month and a day, I think, away at this point from taking our youngest to college, and we will be empty nesters at that point. I've always looked at this time as a kind of a fulcrum in my life, as like this is an opportunity to explore options, to think about doing something completely different. There was something that came up that was completely different in the journalism realm, but not in sports, that I gave a lot of consideration to. So it's been a wild 15 months of stuff, and then things have happened that were completely unpredictable. I had reached an agreement back in March, I guess, with another company. I'd signed the contract. The contract is signed. But that was before the merger with Rivals and On3. When that merger occurred, I was under contract. Chase was not. Chase had an opportunity to go ahead and get started at 247, which I fully supported. He's doing, from what I hear, a great job over there. I don't have access to that site. People have never believed me when I've said this. I don't ever look at the other sites. I don't look at competitive sites. When I was at Rivals, I never looked at 247 ever. I never looked at On3, the Ole Miss Spirit. I just never looked at it. I don't watch other people's podcasts in the market. I don't listen to their podcast. I don't watch their live streams. I just don't. Maybe I should, or maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. Different people have different opinions, but I didn't. And so this last 7 days has been illuminating. I did not really know what to expect in this month of weirdness where I'm working for On3. I will say Billy Embody has been really, really good to me. My interactions with that site has been limited to him and only him. But he has been extremely good to me, very helpful, very kind. I appreciate him. Shannon Terry, all the people at On3 have been nothing but professional to me. I have no complaints at all. It's just awkward. And I did not. It's been interesting to watch parts of my career be re-litigated, I guess, for lack of a better word, on a site that is obviously full of people who are inclined to dislike me. That has been somewhat interesting, sometimes funny a little bit. The Laramie Tunsil thing, the Lane Kiffin thing, which, by the way, I have to say this. People always refer to that Tuesday podcast on the week that Ole Miss hired Lane Kiffin as a rant. And I don't think it was a rant. I actually went back and watched it the other day because I was curious when people called it a rant. I never really thought of it as a rant at all. Maybe it's just my personality that people, I get animated or whatever, and people turn it into they said it was a rant. I'm not criticizing that interpretation. I just am saying that is different than what I remembered it in my mind. And after watching it again, I think I side with me over the people that call it a rant. I thought that was just me stating what I thought was a fact, which was it was a no-brainer and that you should offer him the job. And the irony of this, and this is the part that I always find, I'm not really into whether I get credit for something or not. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. And the older I get, the more I realize that's true. It truly doesn't matter. I had this conversation with my brother the other day about something completely different. And it was the whole caring about what everyone else thinks. I mean, you should absolutely care what other people think. And you're lying if you say that you don't care what other people think of you. But you can't be obsessed with it. Because at the end of the day, the list of people that really matter what they think of you is really small. Like if you found out today that this was your last day on earth, how many people would you really think about what they think of you? It's a really small number. So with that in mind, what I don't get credit for is the day that Ole Miss took the interim tag off of Matt Luke. So that would have been 2017. On that Sunday, like an idiot, I wrote in 10 Weekend Thoughts on a hours before Matt Luke was formally introduced as the head coach. I wrote, you should just hire Lane Kiffin. That it just made more sense. Start from scratch. Take the shot. You're at rock bottom. Go for it. Hire Lane Kiffin. So I was kind of on the Lane Kiffin train, pardon the pun, long before really anyone else was. And so on that Tuesday, I just said, this is silly. You should absolutely talk to Lane Kiffin. I had talked to people close to Kiffin who said that he was very interested in talking to Ole Miss, that Ole Miss wasn't taking his call, and that he was probably headed to Arkansas, which is another subject entirely because I get the whole he's an Arkansas person. And at the time, my daughter was a freshman at Arkansas. So if I were truly an Arkansas person, it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't matter. But I've watched over the last 7 days, all these things be litigated on a site that I had not read before and will never read again. And it's been pretty interesting. Yes, purgatory, Mr. Webb, is fair. It's a fair description. Insurance Rebel asked me, how do I see the LeBron Lakers thing working out? He opted in, but is he wearing yellow and gold when the opening tip of the season starts? I won't go super into this because people get frustrated with NBA talk. But I will say that I think what you're seeing is that LeBron James and his people do not understand the new CBA in the NBA. They don't understand that the teams that could take his salary on have no incentive to take his salary on. And the teams that may be incentivized to trade for him, say, if you believe, for example, if you're the Knicks and you believe that LeBron James, even at age 40, 41, makes you more of a title contender, great. If you trade for him, you've got to send back Karl Anthony Towns and probably half of your role players, because nobody in this CBA wants to get over the second apron because it's so punitive. It's essentially a salary cap. I'm surprised the more that I hear about it. I'm surprised that the Players Association agreed to this, but they did. And we talk about this a lot in college. It's one of the reasons that when people talk about collective bargaining in college, I'm like, you guys just don't understand how far away that is. There's no players union. The NBA Players Association signed this document. They signed this CBA. And as the CBA has gone into effect, more and more teams are saying, hey, you can't go over the second apron. LeBron James makes $51 million, I think $52 million next season. He's a very good player. He's still an all-NBA caliber player. He is in his 40s, but if you take on a let's call it $51 million salary, you've got to send back that same amount of money. It's very difficult to do without gutting your roster. People talked about Milwaukee. Milwaukee would basically have to trade every other meaningful player other than Giannis Antetokounmpo to do it. Denver would have no incentive, for example, to trade for LeBron James. But say Denver traded for LeBron James, they'd have to move Murray in that deal. They'd have to move basically everyone not named Nikola Jokic. Makes no sense. And then, some of the younger teams, Orlando, Oklahoma City, teams that are kind of building organically, trading for LeBron James would completely incinerate the rebuilding efforts that they're trying to do. So it just makes no sense. So I suspect that he really has no market, and I suspect that you'll see him in Los Angeles on a good but not truly contending team. I mean, the Lakers were the 3 seed. They won 50-plus games last season. They were good. They have Luka Doncic. They just picked up DeAndre Ayton, who is an enigmatic player, who I guess technically makes them better at center. Their roster's pretty thin, and I don't really think they're a contending team. I don't think they're as good as the Thunder or the Nuggets or Houston, who has had a great offseason. But Denver will. I mean, the Lakers will be good, and I suspect LeBron will play for them. And he's got an expiring deal. This is the last year of his deal, and you can almost feel the Lakers just saying, we've got to move on from this. And now that they have Luka Doncic, they can. Let's see. The Grateful Reb says, will your 10 Thoughts piece be publicly available or behind a paywall at 247? I always enjoyed that content, the weekly sports summaries of interesting current stories, the personals, bits, some other topic, current events, sentiments, the recipes, the links provided. No, it will be behind a paywall. That's the plan anyway. I mean, the goal, if we get that to the finish line, hopefully, will be that will be behind a paywall. That the mailbag what he said, what he meant. A lot of our core things that we think separate us, that make us unique from other team sites, we'll put those things behind paywalls. We're going to try to incentivize people to subscribe with us, to advertise with us. We are it's a competitive marketplace, so giving that content away for free really doesn't make a lot of sense. So we won't. Brent says, how long would it take to build a college CBA? 24 months? Yeah, I would think so. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't know how you do it, honestly. How do you get – so, like, we'll take the NBA, for example. You can do the NFL. It's the same thing. We'll do NFL. It's bigger numbers. So you have, 32 franchises. Each team has, call it 70 players under contract. If you include, practice squads, taxi squads, your active roster, maybe it's even a bigger number than that. We'll call it 70 just for kicks and giggles. So you're talking 2,100 players at that point. Is that right? 2,100 plus players that you've got to get ratified. So you have 32 teams. Every team has a player rep. You have 32 owners. You have a commissioner. I mean, it's a pretty big, negotiation there. And with college, even if you just did the Power Four, it's double that. And every roster has 105 players. It's a lot of players to get to ratify. Do you do player reps? How do you do all of that? Do you have to do a different CBA for every sport? How do you handle Title IX? What do you do about schools that aren't in the Power Four? What do you do with like Group of Five schools that are in the American or the Sun Belt, or conferences of that nature? What do you do with non-revenue sports? Do you have a different it's so complicated. It's why when people say collective bargaining is the answer for college athletics, I mean, sure, until you start trying to figure out practicalities of how do you do that? And I don't know the answer to that. And when I've asked people in college athletics, like, well, how do you do that? The look on their face is just, they go blank. And I get it. I'm not criticizing. I totally understand. I don't know how you make that binding. And then here's the thing, right? Like, use the NFL as an example. You can use Major League Baseball. You can use the NBA, whatever sport you feel like using, it applies. NHL. Those CBAs have terms. I was listening to Sam Presti, he's the president, general manager of the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was doing his end of season press conference, and he was talking about the CBA that the NBA is currently in. And, they're already beginning to talk about what each side, meaning the owners and the Players Association, doesn't like about this CBA, because this CBA has an expiration date. And if you reach that expiration date without reaching a new agreement, one of two things happens. Either the owners lock out the players, or the players go on strike, because you can't go to work without a functioning CBA, collective bargaining agreement. What happens in college if you have a CBA? You have to have an expiration date on that CBA. What happens if the two sides, or 8 sides, or 22 sides, however many sides there are, can't reach an agreement before the expiration of that collective bargaining agreement? Do you have empty stadiums on Saturdays in the fall? Do you have empty arenas in January and February? Do you not have an NCAA tournament? How does that work? No one knows those answers. And I think really smart people try to figure that out, but it's awfully complicated. It's if you read my 10 thoughts, which I think were free this week, I wrote about this a little bit. There were some recruiting things that happened over the weekend that wouldn't have happened in a previous era, because it's about revenue sharing now. Some schools were able to offer revenue sharing, like the young man from Morton, Mississippi, who committed to Sacramento State over Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, Mississippi State. That would never have happened 4 years ago. Never. And I mean, look, he still might not end up there. It's not the point. I mean, there's a lot of time between now and December. But in a world where he actually goes there, he went there for money, over the table rev share money. And if you do the math on rev share, if he's getting a full rev share or more at Sacramento State, he's a player that probably needs a year of development, maybe 2 years of development. A school like Ole Miss or LSU or Tennessee is probably not going to give him a full rev share. They're going to give him a partial rev share or no rev share. And those decisions are impacting that. Let's see. Was my favorite thread on Rebel Grove over the years? That's like asking someone to pick a favorite child. There were a lot of fun times at Rebel Grove. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of like there was a moment. It's like July the 2nd when the site was still up. I don't think the people at On3 knew the site was still up. I asked Billy Embody, I said, are there 2 Rebel Groves now? What's the deal? And I think he was taken aback, and so I probably fired one of the final shots on the old board accidentally. But I don't know, a little sentimental. Again, to see that much work just go away. And again, I know there are people that don't wrap their head around this, and there's some people who just don't like us that want to change a narrative. I feel safe saying this. That site at Rivals was the market leader. On3 pursued Chase Parham back in early in the year. Pursued him for quite some time. 247 came after me. We wanted to stay together. We've been together for a long time. We've worked together for a long time. I think we complement each other quite well. Ultimately that worked out for Chase and 247. So this wasn't we failed and we got absorbed. It wasn't that at all. This was Rivals got bought by On3, and it's a merger. And a lot of the Rivals people are now at On3. I wish all of them well. Some of the Rivals people had already gone to other sites. The Texas site, orangebloods.com, which is a rival site forever. Jeff Ketchum and all those guys, they're going independent. A lot of people in this field will watch that with great interest and hope that it works. It's no secret that I'm good friends with a handful of the guys at TexAgs. I'm a big fan of what Billy Lucci has done there. David Nuno's a good friend. The people there, I really like them. I've studied what TexAgs has done. Owen Buchanan's a very good friend. I like those guys a ton. So I've watched that. They've got a setup that I'm envious of. That I just don't know that I don't know that I had enough self-belief in myself to strike out on that big of a venture at this stage of my life. But there's a lot there. So I'm not sure I even answered a question about, it was my favorite thread. I don't know. I have tons of favorite threads. I can't even remember. I mean, the one of the Chad nights back in the day was really funny. We had some kids. The genesis of that night was one of the competing sites we felt was sort of violating the rules as it pertained to interacting with official visitors on campus. And when we realized that nothing was going to happen, we were going to try to sort of make a point. And so we hired, I think it was 3 young guys. When I say hired, we paid their bar tab just to give us information. And so they texted us information about who was there, and they ended up interacting with these prospects and stuff, and they would send us information. And I created a character named Chad, and we took that information and I attempted to make it funny and post accurate recruiting information, but in the most absurd way possible, mostly in an attempt to prove a point about how insane this is. And I think it ended up being wildly entertaining. So that was actually fun. Hey, let me pay some bills real quick. We're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Eric Comer and the people at Comer and Southern do an absolutely fantastic job. It's hot as hell outside right now. If your AC starts to blink, you need to get in touch with those people. Make sure that you get taken care of, because this would be a miserable time to go a day or two with no AC. It's different names, but the same great people, products, and services. If you live in Oxford, Tupelo, Batesville, or the surrounding area, call Comer 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call Southern 662-429-4429. Oxford locals, Ole Miss families, if you need dry cleaning or laundry done right, Lapel's Dry Cleaning has you covered. Proudly serving the Oxford community since 2016, Lapel's takes care of everything from suits and formal dresses to comforters and everyday laundry. Even better, they offer free pickup and delivery to make life easier. Just call them at 662-638-3149 to be added to their pickup and delivery route, or visit them at 3010 Old Taylor Road, right across from the Mark condominiums. Mention MPW Digital. You'll get 50% off your first order. Trust Lapels to keep you looking your best. I mentioned 10 Weekend Thoughts. They're brought to you each and every week by Andrew Sego Wealth Management. Are you retiring soon? How long should you wait to take Social Security? What accounts should you pull from first? Are you already retired? Should you consider Roth conversions? These are just some of the questions that can only be answered with the personalized retirement income plan. Andrew Sego Wealth Management specializes in helping folks just like you come up with their retirement game plan. So whether you meet at his office in Collierville or prefer Zoom from anywhere, schedule a free discovery meeting and see what they can do for you. It's rebelsretire.com. Stress out about the Rebels, not your money. Again, check out rebelsretire.com. We're also brought to you by Arnett's Fine Jewelry. It's a 4th-generation jeweler located in the old Lamons Jewelry Building on North Lamar Avenue in Oxford. They offer expert jewelry repair, diamond engagement rings, wedding bands, stackable diamonds, genuine stone bands, pearls, genuine color stones, diamond jewelry, and more. They offer super gifts for many occasions, such as birthdays, graduations, anniversary gifts, flexible bangles, diamond pendants, earrings. If your wife is expecting a baby, Arnett's can help you find the perfect push present as well. So check them out at Arnett's, where they want to be your jeweler. Irish Reb says, now that the NBA season is over, congrats. Yes, thunder up. Have you turned some attention to following the Cubs? Yeah, I've watched the Cubs some. Watched a good bit of the series this weekend against the Cardinals. I watched the Friday game on Apple TV. I watched a good bit of kind of in and out on the Saturday game. I'm not going to be the guy that complains like this. One of my complaints with MLB coverage is that you can't get the broadcast that you want. And if you live here, we're technically in the St. Louis market, you get the Cardinals broadcast, and Chip Carey drives me insane, just drives me nuts. So I didn't pay. I had to put the Saturday game on mute. It ended up being a really good game. Cardinals came back with 5 in the 8th to win 8-6. And then I watched part of last night's game until it got completely out of control. And instead, my wife and I started a series on Netflix called The Waterfront. And she'll admit this now. 15 minutes into episode 1, she was ready to kill it. She was ready to just punt, move on. She was like, there's got to be something better than this. I was like, it's so bad right now that it's kind of good. Give it time. And now we're 4 episodes in, and it's pretty strong. The writing is really good. The acting is so. But they've done some stuff. It's good. So we ended up watching that instead of the end of the Cubs game. But yeah, I have started following the Cubs a little bit. Not anywhere as much as I used to. When I was at the beach, I kind of just completely checked out on sports for a few days because I felt like my brain needed it. And so I didn't even read anything. I know the trade deadline's coming up. I know Jameson Tyone just went on the DL or the injured list, and so they've got to get pitching. I noticed where Brandon Woodruff is back for the Brewers. Brewers are only 4 back. He pitched well yesterday in Miami in a win over the Marlins. So yeah, I'm following it, but I'm not locked in. My emotional capacity was pretty occupied by the Thunder, and it's only been 3 weeks since that glorious Sunday night Game 7 win. So there's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm not completely ready to move on with anything yet. Sammy says Dodgers are toast. They're not toast. Yeah, BWL says we finished Waterfront last night. Good writing, but B-list actors. I agree with that. That's yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. Who's worse, Chip Carey or Joe Buck? Chip's bad. Chip tries really. Chip's that guy, and he did this when he was with the Cubs. He did it when he was with the Braves, and now he's really doing it with the Cardinals. It's that cheerleading thing, that we thing. It grates my nerves. I know that a lot of broadcast crews do that. It feels like they don't do it as over the top as he does it. And maybe that's a Cardinal thing. Maybe that's a thing that you have to do if you're broadcasting the Cardinals. Maybe their fan base demands it. And I don't mean that in a critical way. I just don't know. But it feels a bit much. And he just tries so hard. And it drives me insane. No matter what you think of Buck, he's really talented. He's really talented. I don't know that I feel like I can say the exact same thing for Carey. The second question was any Josh Hendrickson show plans for the near future. Need his thoughts heading into the All-Star break and also on the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill legislation, sausage making. I'm hoping we do one Wednesday. He was in position to do one last Wednesday, but I was at the beach, and by last Wednesday, I think last Wednesday I got up and went for a run. To give you an idea of what my beach life was like, I went for a run, and I just kept running. I ended up running. I looked at my watch. I'd run an hour and 18 straight minutes. It was so hot. I was toast, and my recovery drink at 9 a.m. was a tiny bomb. So it was. I was not in a position by Wednesday afternoon to do anything resembling a podcast. Potts Camp says, how was your fishing adventure? If you had to live in a cabin, where would you want it located? We ended up not going. One of the days that we thought about going, it got rainy and there was no way to do it. And then the other problem we had is, so we had 8 people. We had the 5 of us. We had Campbell's boyfriend, Brock, was with us. Carson's girlfriend, Bess, was with us. And one of Caroline's really good friends, Embry, was with us. Embry and Caroline were sorority sisters. Embry is going to law school at Loyola of New Orleans in August, getting started with that. She's from Memphis. Wonderful kid, really like her. So we had a full group, and when I said who wants to go fishing, I anticipated it just being like me and Brock and Carson, but it was everybody. The only person who really didn't care whether he or she went fishing was my wife. And so the price for 7 people to go fishing was exorbitant, more than I wanted to pay. And then I didn't know how to break us off into a smaller group without upsetting people or hurting feelings or making somebody feel like they kind of got pushed out of the trip. So we ended up not going. But I want it. I wanted to go. We'll go. I'll go again. I've made it this far, and I've always wanted to go deep sea fishing. I've never gone, and one of these days I'm just going to go. But that I didn't want to. By the time it was all said and done, it was going to be like $3,000, and I just didn't. I didn't need to spend that on that right now at all. It's one of those things where if it was 8 people and you were all dividing it up, easily worth it. Easily be awesome. But in this case, I would be the one footing the whole bill, and it was just I didn't want to do that. Let's see. We were at 30A. We were at Inlet Beach, I think. Seacrest, Inlet. We were near Rosemary. All that area is like the same to me. Like you go run. I went running. I ran to the hub and then kept going another like 2 miles, whichever direction that was, and then realized I'd gotten really far away and I needed to turn back and run back. So I got back. But I think our place was technically in Inlet Beach. Will Murphy says the message board on Deep Inside the Rebels is getting very spicy about the conversation of this podcast between a board member and Chase. I don't know what that is. I don't have any access to that site right now, so I don't know. Yeah, 30A is awesome. Everybody makes fun of 30A. I make fun of 30A, and then I go to 30A. I went twice this summer because I chaperoned Carson's trip. So I've spent, I guess, 11 days at 30A in the last month, and it's awesome. I get why everyone goes. I mean, people say it's so crowded that no one goes anymore, which is like a Yogi Berra-ism. That place is awesome. It's fantastic. It's got everything. Like we got rain on Monday, and we went to Rosemary and just kind of walked around and went to shops and stuff. And the kids went to one place, and Laura and I went to this bar and sat there and had a few beers, and it was great. I mean, I get it. I totally understand why people spend a lot of money to go there. It's awesome. I loved it. I'd go back tomorrow if I could. But I'm a beach person. Like I love Perdido. I love Orange Beach. I love Gulf Shores, the old Hilton property that they turned into a thing. I think that place is fun. But 30A is chill. And we were at this kind of private beach where it was really chill, and it was nice. I mean, like I took one of the little boogie board things out, rode waves and stuff. I mean, I could do the beach 3 weeks in a row every summer and be completely happy. That was my thing. But yeah, I like all of it. Ramble on Reb says anything new in your life? Yeah, a lot new in my life. Oxonian Rev says, was it 49-10? It wasn't. It was not 49-10. That was my prediction that day in 2011 of the Arkansas at Ole Miss game. Arkansas won the game, but they did not win it 49-10. I don't remember that exact final. Let's find that real quick. Let's find that. Arkansas Ole Miss football 2011. Arkansas won 29-24 on October the 22nd, 2011, according to ESPN. I'm going to take their word for it. Ole Miss opened that game with a 43-yard field goal to go up 3-0. Scored a touchdown and apparently made the extra point, so 10-0. Scored another touchdown to go up 17-0. At that point, Houston Nutt was probably preparing his post-game speech, which was going to ridicule me. Arkansas clawed back into the game late in the second quarter with the touchdown, made it 17-7. Arkansas opened the scoring in the third quarter with a 33-yard field goal to make it 17-10, and then tied the game midway through the third quarter, I should say, with a touchdown drive, 6 plays, 69 yards to tie the game at 17. Arkansas then scored a touchdown late in the third quarter to go up 24-17. Arkansas added a safety with 14 seconds to go in the third quarter to go up 26-17. Arkansas made a field goal with 11:31 left in the game to go up 29-17. Ole Miss scored a touchdown with 1:23 left in the game to make it 29-24. I'm assuming Ole Miss went for a onside kick and failed, and Arkansas ran the clock out, would be my recollection of that. And then afterwards, of course, Houston Nutt led his post game with coming after me with my score prediction. He said one of his freshmen had showed him our prediction. If you follow Rebel Grove, you know that we do Neal's picks every Thursday. They are typically tongue-in-cheek and funny. We ridicule, we make fun of everyone, including ourselves. And that year, it was pretty easy to sort of make fun of that football team. And Houston Nutt did not like it. I blew an opportunity in that moment. Although I've had this conversation many times. The thought that went through my mind when he said that to me was, wow, this would be a real chance for you to ask Houston Nutt, are you claiming a moral victory? It's a SEC head coach in his fourth season at his existing school, losing a game against, at that time, you got to remember, that was a very good Arkansas team. That was an Arkansas team that, had they been in a different league, they probably would have been in the national conversation, but they were in the same league that year with LSU and Alabama, who were the two best teams in the country. So Arkansas got overshadowed a bit. But I think that was a 10, maybe 11 win Arkansas team. That was Bobby Petrino's best team right before the whole motorcycle thing happened. That was his crowning jewel before everything fell apart. So that was an Ole Miss team that played that really good Arkansas team well. But I wanted to ask Houston Nutt after that, are you claiming a moral victory? That would have been the end of that press conference. And in that media environment, that fan environment, I don't think I could have survived it. I think it would have led to job opportunities elsewhere, and it may have been ultimately good for my career, but I don't think we would have been able to stay in Oxford covering Ole Miss. It's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I was doing all that calculus in my mind, and so I did not ask that question. And sometimes I look back and thought that was failure. We're brought to you by the College Corner. They've got autographed footballs and helmets in stock. They've also got all the gear you're looking for. We're getting close now. I think someone said 9 weeks, a little less than 9 weeks till the start of the season. Ole Miss has 8 home games, so you want to get all your gear ready, your T-shirts, polos, quarter zips, whatever the case may be. They're going to have, games where you wear red, games where you wear navy, games where you wear powder, games where you wear white. You want to get all of that stuff. You want to get it ready to go, and you can do it at the College Corner. They've got 2 locations in Jackson and one here in Oxford right off of Sisk at the Oxford Commons. And you can also check them out at collegecornerstore.com. We're also brought to you by Argent Wealth. Argent, based in Ridgeland, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Argent, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Argent will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan built just for you. Cookie cutter financial planners put you in a box. Argent builds a box just for you. To learn more about Argent Wealth, go to myargentwealth.com. Also brought to you by my friend John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. John's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits, simply not available to other travelers. All you have to do with John, if you want a special trip that creates a lifetime of unique memories, is get in touch with him, give him some parameters, give him a budget. That's really important. And let him give you some options. And no, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. It's 494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. I'm not sure what you're asking, Tupelo. Tupelo says, how is it that Neal is going to make this place better when his board went out of business? Oh, yeah, our board didn't. Yeah, I know what you're saying now. That Chase has told me about this interaction. That's just stubborn argument. That's someone refusing to even listen to the answer. We didn't go out of business. We had multiple opportunities. Shannon Terry has said as much. Tupelo, speaking of, says, I don't know when Lane Kiffin will leave Ole Miss or if he'll leave anytime soon, but at the end of his career, if you were to predict, would his career look more like Mike Gundy's at Oklahoma State or Mac Brown's tenure at Texas? I would say Mac Brown's. Unlike Gundy, who doesn't appear to. And listen, I've met Mike Gundy. I think he's funny. Seems like a good guy. Did a great job at Oklahoma State for a long time, but he doesn't seem to be willing to acclimate to a new environment. You have to give Kiffin credit. I mean, Kiffin's very, very good at acclimating to a new environment. I mean, if you look at what the environment was when Lane Kiffin took the Ole Miss job in early December of 2019 compared to where the environment around college athletics is today, it's night and day. And he has just adjusted the whole time and repeatedly said that he thinks the system is broken. I agree completely. But that it is the system and that they're going to make the most of it, which I think they've done a remarkably good job of. I mean, I think there are programs in the country that have done as good at it as he has, but I don't know that anyone's done better at it than he has. And you look at what he's done with Ole Miss, 10 or more wins in 3 of the last 4 years. He's made it where there's not a lot left. Like, there's not a lot of, in terms of fan expectations. I mean, let's face it. He has taken Ole Miss from where it was when he got here in 2019, which was, God, just make it respectable, make it entertaining, make them relevant, to make the playoffs. It's not playoffs or bust. It's not like anybody's getting fired if they don't make the playoffs. That's not the case at all. But, I mean, the barometer for Ole Miss now is make the playoffs. And at some point, once they make the playoffs, the barometer will be, okay, we'll win in the playoffs. And that's where they are. And I think that's a credit to him. So I think his tenure is far more likely to resemble Mac Brown's at Texas than it is Gundy's at Oklahoma State, where it appears that Gundy is going to flame out and it's not going to end well. Yeah, Brent, I do think there will be 9 league games in 2027. I think there's going to be more league games. I think there's going to be more conference expansion. I wrote about this in 10 Thoughts. I think you can see the writing on the wall with this settlement with Florida and Florida State and Clemson with the ACC and the reduction of the buyouts and coinciding with when the TV deals with the Big Ten and the SEC and the college football playoff are going to be renegotiated. You can see where this is going. I mean, I don't think you have to be particularly smart. I'm missing parts of this. They probably went to 247 because they didn't like Neal for whatever reason. I don't know what that's about. I missed part of it. Yeah. Do I think SEC Media Days will produce a surprise story? I hope not, Grind, because this is going to be the first year in a long time that I haven't been to Media Days. It's kind of interesting. I haven't missed SEC Media Days, I don't think, since the mid 90s. And I'm not going as of now. I'm not going next week. Just a weird place in my career, but it's hopefully very temporary. We'll see. I hope so. If not, might be trying those gummies that my brothers do all the time. I'm kidding. Stan B. Reb says, my wife and I decided we're not going another Florida summer without our own pool. I don't blame you. We'll have adopted 3 kids by next summer. Congratulations. And getting to the club or beach has gotten a little tougher since they came into our care. What are the top 3 things to know about having your own pool? All right, so look, here's the pool thing in a nutshell. A pool is a love-hate relationship. You will love your pool and you will hate your pool. That is period. That I'll fight. I'll stand on the hill and scream that. It's a lot of upkeep. There are always expenses. Pool parts break down. You have to replace them. You can't just evacuate your pool. You've got to keep up with it. It's going to have problems. Parts are going to break. You're going to get, you're going to have issues with your pool. Now, here's the flip side of the pool. I'll give you a most recent example. Saturday, it was 9,416 degrees in Oxford. It was so hot. There's not a lot to do on a Saturday in July in Oxford. I'm not criticizing. Oxford's great. We've lived here for a long time. I think we're going to live here for several more years. I'm not criticizing Oxford at all. But there's a limited number of things you can do on a Saturday in Oxford. And we had by having a pool, and it was just Laura and me. We went out into the pool and laid by the pool and ended up in the pool. And I've got a basketball goal in the pool, and I shot baskets, and she ended up getting in the pool and shooting baskets and floated on a floaty. And she had some of those mom waters, and I had some summer shandies, and we ended up having a really fun day. If we didn't have the pool, that would not have been a fun outdoor day. Too hot. So the pool's a game changer, and with young kids, it's the same thing. You're going to have a lot of extremely fun times at the pool where you love it and you realize that it's a complete game changer for your house and your family and your life. And then there are going to be times in December that thing's a giant pain in the ass, and you have to come to grips with that and decide whether you can handle that part of it or not. I'm glad we have a pool, even though there have been times when I have been wanted to pour concrete and just fill the damn thing in and be done. But all in all, I would say the pros outweigh the cons, but there are cons and they are expensive, and you probably should keep a little fund over to the side for pool emergencies, because there will come a point that you will have a pool issue. Absolutely inevitable. I do agree with Grind here. If you're not going to really use a pool, then don't get it. Some people get it as a status symbol and end up hating it. I agree with that. Yeah, we got ours when the kids were little, and we used it a ton. And then just like Friday night, Carson and a bunch of his friends came over. They were going to go out to Sardis, and I was like, man, please don't go to Sardis. Don't do that. Don't make me sweat that all night long, worrying about you on the roads and all that stuff. And I was like, you can have some friends over. And he did. They had friends over, and they were in the pool and stuff like that. Pools are game changers. But yeah, if you're not going to use a pool, don't do it. Yeah, but if you're going to use it, it's a complete it enhances your summers greatly. And we use ours starting early May through pretty much Halloween. And then so that's half the year basically. Not quite half the year, and then you've got to clean it. You've got to maintain it. I don't even have any idea how much on average. How much time do we spend on our pool each year? A lot. And ours is a pretty standard size pool. I don't know how big it is. I don't. I should know these things, but I don't. Yeah, we couldn't have afforded a pool before we got ours. We did. We cut a couple of corners probably early on ours. LR Reb says, would you ever allow an Ole Miss football coach to use your message board credentials to DM critics? I would not. Where does that lie on your journalism ethics spectrum? It lies on the completely unethical portion of the spectrum. North Tampa Rebel says, were you disappointed that Shannon Terry broke the news that you were going to 247? Should you have tweeted respect my privacy? No, I wasn't disappointed. I was a little surprised, to be just completely honest. But no, I wasn't disappointed. Shannon's been very good to me throughout this process. There have been some developments in this process. There have been some hiccups. There have been some things that certainly an incident that I didn't anticipate that changed things a little bit. And he's been good to me throughout that. So no, I wasn't disappointed. I was surprised. I anticipated, just based on correspondence that I had received, that we were going to that there was going to be a desire for me to keep that part quiet. Honestly, I think that they probably underestimated how poorly I would be received at On3, and I think some of that was just to try to diffuse the situation by coming on and saying, hey, look, this guy that you all hate so much he's only going to be here for a short period of time. I think that's all it was. It wasn't, and it was predictable that it was my presence there, which I've kept to an absolute minimum. My presence there was not going to be particularly well received. I mean, I think that was predictable if you were in the market. And in fairness to Shannon, he's not in this market. He's doing a lot nationally with involved at that time with a merger. So there's a lot of technical stuff going on. Anytime you're trying to matriculate all of the things that were at Rivals into On3's system, and you're trying to, I'm sure there was some stuff going on with just people and sites all over the country. So he was busy. Probably wasn't even giving a hell of a lot of thought to it. But no, I wasn't surprised. Let's see. Deuce McCluster 22 says, since the podcast's been lacking over the last several weeks, and this merger caused a lot of civil war over whether you did or didn't get Kiffin hired, I've gone back and listened to a lot of old episodes of the podcast around December of 2019 when Kiffin was hired. What was Lane's initial expectation with winning in 2020 before COVID hit? What did the powers that be expect? And what do you think Lane felt he was capable of with the roster that he had? God, I don't even remember, man. One of the reasons he liked the Ole Miss job more than the Arkansas job in November of 2019 was that the Ole Miss roster was better. Specifically, he was better at quarterback with Matt Corral. I don't remember who Arkansas did or didn't have at quarterback. I just don't remember. I'm sorry. And I think, let's be clear, and I think Lane's basically admitted this. I don't think Lane in December of 2019 believed he would be at Ole Miss or Arkansas had he taken that job in July of 2025. I don't think he believed that at all. I think he was looking for a job at the SEC level where he could win, overachieve, and then land one of the big jobs. So you got to remember, this is pre-portal. This is pre-rev share. This is pre-NIL. This is pre all of that stuff. And in that model, that made sense. Go to Ole Miss, ride Matt Corral to 8-9 wins, a couple years in a row, land the LSU job, the Auburn job, some job like that, go to a place that in that old model where it was easier to win, and be nationally relevant again. I'm sure that's what I'm 99% sure that's what he was thinking. Obviously, COVID hit. And you know the rest. What did Ole Miss expect? I think Keith Carter and the people there just were hoping for relevancy again. Just were trying to change the mood around the program. I tell people this all the time, and I get why Ole Miss people sort of block it out. That Texas A&M game in November of 19 at Vaught Hemingway. Texas A&M came to town. It was a night game. It was a night game in Oxford. I want to say it was a 6:45 game, maybe 6 o'clock, 6:30. It doesn't matter. It was a night game. The game kicked off at night. That stadium was half full. They did the Tommy Tuberville "Are You Ready" thing that night at halftime, and people got worked up about it. But that place was dead, man. I mean, that place had no juice at all that night. None. I want to say Ole Miss lost a one-touchdown game. I'll look it up real quick. I'm curious. Texas A&M, Ole Miss football 2019. Yeah, I was right. Texas A&M won 24-17. I don't know why in my mind it's November. That was October 19th, 2019. I need to pull up Ole Miss football 2019 because I'm forgetting something. For some reason, that Texas A&M game stands out in my head. Ole Miss in 2019 went 4-8. They opened the season with a loss at Memphis. I've forgotten that. Good God. They beat Arkansas, beat Southeastern Louisiana, lost at Cal, lost to Cal at home, lost at Alabama, beat Vanderbilt, lost at Missouri. That was the first night that we did Hand Raise Guys post-game show, by the way. We were a little ahead of the curve there. Obviously, we weren't in October. We didn't know that all of 2020 would be Zoom only, but we had already decided to sort of shift a little bit. They lost to Texas A&M in the game that I mentioned, 24-17. Lost at Auburn by 6. Beat New Mexico State by 38. Played LSU, which I think went on to win the national title that year. Lost that game 58-37, and then lost the Elijah Moore game 21-20. I think I remember the A&M game because it was the last game that I went to in person that year. That was the reason that it sticks out in my mind. But that LSU game, even that was Ed Orgeron, that was Joe Burrow, it was all those guys. That was John Rice Plumlee had the kind of breakout game. That stadium was pretty empty. The program wasn't particularly relevant. They were just there at that time. So I think that's what I remember about that. Was it just they had to do something to get you guys, the fans, excited again. Because I think it was going to be hard to sell tickets in 2020. And I think the whole Matt Luke was going to be in a win or else year. And now you think about what all happened with COVID, quarter full stadiums, etc. It would have been rough. Would have been a completely different, and that's not fair to Matt. It just is what it is. Would have been a completely different environment than what it was instead. Last few questions. Let's see. My top favorite beach beers. I'm asked by Swayze J19, what genre of music am I respectfully not blaring listening to while propped up next to the Gulf of America? My favorite beach beers. Man, you're like asking me to pick my favorite kids again. So I took the Parish. It was the beer that's got a little hint of lime in it. Pescador, I think is what it's called. Loved it. It was great. Brock, Campbell's boyfriend, likes Coors, the banquet beer. So we bought a bunch of that. And I like Coors. I like Coors. I had a bunch of Coors Light. Had Pescador. I had Tiny Bomb, the Memphis beer. I threw in a few Dr. Juices from Parrish. There was an amber out of Fairhope. That was really good. Had a couple of those. I was pretty equal opportunity beer enjoyer on the beach. I don't know that I had a certain like rotation or something. We went through a lot of beverages. Our group of 8. A lot of Mom Waters, a lot of High Noons, which I don't like High Noon, but all the girls did. So there was a lot of those. And genre of music, I didn't ever control the music. I let pretty much Campbell and Caroline and Embry control the music. So it was a lot of country, if I recall correctly. I didn't pay a lot of attention. It just was on. We actually like conversed, and I took a nap a couple of days on the beach, and I'd go out and play in the water, and I had a really good time. It was fun. Fountain City Reb says, please give us the details of your altercation with Ben Garrett. I'm not getting into that. I understand why people are interested in it. I'll simply say that it's been not quite a month since it happened. And, people can give whatever iteration of or account of that they want to give. I know what happened. I know who started it, and there's video, and I'll leave it at that. Will I have the same? Will you save my use? Marv Merchants wants to know if I'll save his username for 247. What will the promo code be? I don't know. QuazReb9 says top 5 most impactful documents or books of all time. I mean, obviously the Bible is number 1, I think. I mean, even if you're not Christian, I am, but even if you're not, it's impacted society for centuries. If you're American, I think you have to include the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, probably the Bill of Rights. Magna Carta, I would agree with. I apologize, Quaz, because I did not read all the way through these before we started today. I should have looked into this one. It's a good one. Let me think about that. I'll think about that and answer at a future date. Top 5 most impactful books or documents of all time. I'll tell you one that I think is The Art of War. Think of how many powerful people have used that book as a guide for how they make decisions, how they rule, how they run corporations, how they control their lives. That's one that kind of comes to the top of my head as something I would think about. Yeah, I think I tend to agree with Wicked there. Neal, can you please repost the show you did with Andy Kennedy on the road? If I can ever find it, I will. I'll look. I must have missed some things in here. I apologize. I couldn't keep up with everything. No, Houston Nutt is not my boss now. I don't think Houston works anymore. I don't think but if he does work for CBS, I guess we could technically be colleagues at some point. Josh Pate does work for CBS. Josh does a really good job. Get the beautiful, healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. Schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself. It's corinthdental.com. Speaking of Parrish Brewing Company, we're brought to you by our friends at Parrish Brewing Company. They're located right there in the heart of Cajun country In Broussard, Louisiana, their simple goal is to make craft brewed beer awesome, and they do it incredibly well. They've got Dr. Juice. I was telling you about that. They've got Ghost in the Machine. They've got Pescador, Envy, Canebrake, so much more. Go to their website. You can see all the different offerings that they have. Fantastic. Wherever you look for beer, look for Parish Brewing Company. You won't regret it. And again, the mailbag portion of this show was brought to you by Art Hayes of Sotheby's International Realty. If you're thinking about making a move, put the power of Sotheby's to work for you. Art can help you buy or sell in your hometown or anywhere in the world at no charge to you. Seriously, just call and ask him how. 612-805-5929 or email art at arthur.hayes@lakesmn.com. Let's see. Grind asked if I'd talked to Jay. I've not talked to Jay. It's been a while now. We hadn't talked in a long time. It's one of those things that I have some real regrets over. Brent asked, will the SEC be an offensive heavy league or a defensive league this year? Yeah, I think it's going to be probably pretty offensive heavy. A lot of good quarterbacks. A lot of teams having to replace a ton on defense. That sounds like offense to me. Kyle says, any idea what happened to Surwick? Yeah, a couple things happened. Wicked Bruce says tampering. Yeah, but everybody tampers. Ole Miss tampers. Everybody tampers. You can't get upset at tampering. You just can't. Yeah, I think a couple things happened. I think it requires some nuance. He didn't play much last season. I think he was frustrated with that. He went to the offseason. He's had a big offseason. He turned people's heads, caught some eyes. I'm sure that some agent-type people got in his ear and convinced him that there was a market for him. Obviously, there was. And there had been some LSU rumors, but it wasn't just money, according to what I was told. I mean, I've talked to Chase about this. It wasn't just money. It was, wanted to feel confident that he was going to get playing time, that he was going to be used in a way that he wanted to be used, and I don't know that he completely believed that would happen at Ole Miss. Should he have? I don't know. I'm not close enough to it. I don't think this was a failure on the part of Ole Miss or anything. These things happen, and guys, with the portal the way that it is now, this happens. This happens a bunch in every sport. If a young person feels that he is just not getting the opportunities that he deserves, he can jump in the portal quickly. And especially when his stock rose this summer with the production that he was having in the offseason, suddenly he had a market and he capitalized on his market. And I don't know that, and I wrote this, I don't know that you can justify a lot of indignation because everyone's tampering. Ole Miss is tampering with rosters. People are tampering with Ole Miss's roster. It's one of the problems with the transfer portal right now. When you can just leave whenever you want to leave, it makes it very difficult to coach. It makes it very difficult to program build as opposed to team build. And look, it's a blow for Ole Miss. There's no way around that. I think, according to Chase, he was going to be middle of the order hitter, probably everyday third baseman. So, they had to make some adjustments and go other routes, and we'll see how that all plays out. But it's just part of the game today. I think he was going to be a starter. I think Ole Miss told him he was going to be a starter. But, you guys remember being 19, 20 years old. You make emotional decisions, and maybe it's a decision that works for him. Maybe it's a decision that doesn't. It's hard to get too terribly worked up, in my opinion, about the whole tampering part of it, just because the tampering is so widespread in college sports now. It's in literally every sport. If you talk to any coaches, they'll tell you that. The coaches get frustrated by it. Some coaches get publicly frustrated about it. Most of those coaches shouldn't because they're guilty of it as well. We'll wrap it there. I anticipate Chase being back tomorrow, so we'll have a normal, if you will, edition of Blue Sky Live. Thanks to everyone for being in the stream. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks to everybody for all the questions that you asked, for making this show possible. Again, thanks to Art Hayes and the people at Sotheby's for sponsoring the mailbag. Thanks to all of our advertisers. I know we've been a little hit and miss. Big thanks to Chase, by the way, for covering for me last week. Brian Rippey, Tyler Siskey, some of the people who filled in to make Jeffrey Wright for making it a pretty normal week, even though I was completely gone and out of pocket and away from it. So until next time, I'm Neal McCready. Take care. Bye.